So I ranked the top 10 PvE exotics in the game, and I know this list is going to make some of you mad. But listen, I want you to hear me out, because for each weapon, I'm going to make my case for why it deserves the rank I gave it. In ranking them, I consider their use in endgame viability, so that means GMs, dungeons, raids, and more. For a weapon to rank well, it needs to offer both incredible strength and versatility to use effectively on any class. So, if you're a newer player to Destiny 2, hopefully this video helps you choose what exotics to go for next. So without further ado, please enjoy the video. Now before we get into the top 10, we have our first honorable mention in Trinity Ghoul. Trinity Ghoul is a great arc bow that allows you to fire electrified bolts after defeating a target, making it a great option for ad clear. The Catalyst takes it even further, allowing you to activate the electric bolts by defeating any enemies with an arc ability. This is certainly one of my favorite arc weapons, but its electrified bolts can feel a bit lackluster in endgame content, where the red bars are a bit tankier. Coming in at number 10, we have Vexcalibur. Vexcalibur is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated exotic weapons in the game. It offers insane damage reduction, constant overshields for both you and your teammates, and insane endgame viability. So much so that I've made a build for it with both Titan and Warlock, and I'm planning to make one for Hunters. If you haven't seen them, I promise you that if you watch them, you will change your mind about Glaives. If you want those builds, the links are in the description of this video. It ranks number 10 because of its versatility and ability to turn any class into an absolute tank. Vexcalibur can be acquired via an exotic quest on the EDZ. Definitely recommend getting this if you don't have it. At number 9, we have Osteostriga. Despite a recent nerf, Osteostriga still is a great ad clear option, and its poison still does a ridiculous amount of damage, and makes ad clear as easy as it gets. Defeats with the poison will also overflow the mag, oftentimes to over 100 shots. Osteostriga can be acquired by completing the legendary Witch Queen campaign. Coming in at number 8, we have Malfeasance. Malfeasance is a phenomenal hand cannon. Not only does it have a large magazine, but it also comes with intrinsic anti-unstoppable, increased damage to taken enemies, and an exotic perk that causes bullets to explode inside the target after hitting 5 shots, dealing some solid damage. Its catalyst also gives it Vorpal Weapon, which gives it a 20% boost to mini-bosses, bosses, and vehicles. It ranks lower because its true power can only be unlocked by Hunters, as pairing this hand cannon with Lucky Pants is one of the best endgame loadouts for any activity, and it offers some of the highest primary weapon damage in the game. You can also use it against enemies that teammates tag with Witherhoard, and because Witherhoard does Taken Blight damage, it for some reason tricks Malfeasance into thinking that they are Taken enemy, allowing you to deal increased damage. Please consider subscribing if you didn't know that. Malfeasance is unfortunately acquired by a quest that requires you to play Gambit. So if you don't have it, I'm really sorry that you have to go through that. At number 7, we have Sunshot. Sunshot has been one of my personal favorites ever since I got it. But with the hand cannon buff a few seasons back, Sunshot jumped to the top as one of the most popular weapons in the game. It works extremely well with solar builds, and its exotic perk causes a solar explosion on defeating an enemy. My only complaint, and also the reason why it ranks at number 7, is that the explosion does not scorch enemies, so the subclass synergy with things like Ember of Singeing is not there. Bungie, please, please, please give it incandescent. Sunshot is a random world drop exotic, so may the Bungo RNG bless you and good luck. Clocking in at number 6, we have Graviton Lance. Graviton Lance is extremely strong, and is without a doubt one of my favorite Void primary ammo weapons. Every time you defeat an enemy, you spawn these little Void explosions that do a surprising amount of damage. I have to say it's one of my favorite things to see in the game. For number 5, we have Witherhoard. Witherhoard is just one of those weapons that you can put on and use in any situation. GMs, dungeons, raids, it doesn't matter. Witherhoard is good for both damage rotations and ad clear, which explains why it's one of the most popular weapons in the game. Its catalyst even gives it auto-loading holster, making it an extremely good way to boost your damage in a boss phase. Taking the number 4 position, we have a fan favorite in Conditional Finality. Conditional Finality is one of the most versatile weapons in the game. Whether you're playing PvE or PvP, it doesn't matter. Slap this on and you're good to go. It's got 2 rounds per magazine, and the exotic perk is pretty simple. Its first shot can freeze enemies, and its second shot causes an ignition. Conditional Finality can be acquired as a random drop from the Root of Nightmares raid. At number 3, we have a personal favorite, Buried Bloodline. Buried Bloodline is my favorite PvE special ammo exotic in the game, without a doubt. Its exotic perk allows defeating 4 red bar enemies or just 1 yellow bar enemy to grant 10 seconds of Devour. Defeating any enemy with Devour active will heal you and grant you grenade energy, no matter what weapon or abilities you use to do so. This allows for healing on a ton of subclasses that otherwise have no easy source of heals. Subclasses such as Arc Titan, Stasis Hunter, Strand Hunter, and more. Its catalyst also allows Buried Bloodline to weaken enemies when Devour is active. Buried Bloodline is acquired as a random drop from the end of the Warlord's Ruin dungeon. If you still need it, check out our Discord link in the description. There you can find other Guardians to play with, and I'll be helping members get exotics, clear GMs, share build ideas, and more, all live on both Twitch and YouTube. Again, the link to join is in the description. At number 2, we've got probably one of the most popular weapons this season, second only to Polaris Lance, none other than the Quicksilver Storm. Quicksilver Storm is and has been one of the best exotic primaries in the game thanks to its alternate fire mode, which essentially turns it into an infinite ammo grenade launcher, and its strand synergy, thanks to its catalyst which converts it to strand, allows it to spawn tangles. This is extremely helpful in strand builds centered around tangles. Quicksilver Storm can be acquired from the Monument to Lost Light in the tower. Before we reveal the number 1, we have our second honorable mention, Polaris Lance. Now hold on, let me explain. Polaris Lance is one of the best exotic weapons this season. There's no question about that. As much as I've loved it in the past seasons, it always felt a bit hard to use because of various reasons. Namely, the issue was that it was hard to consistently hit crits in high-end activities. And since the weapon's exotic trait is centered entirely around hitting crits, where it refunds a shot to the mag and fires an explosive round every 5th crit, not hitting crits was a big turnoff for this weapon. And it was difficult to do when dealing with GM enemies with shields, where you can't hit crits. But with the seasonal artifact mods giving us easy access to Radiant and Ignitions through crit hits and final blows, this exotic has exploded in popularity. In fact, I would have put this in the number 1 slot if I was ranking exotic weapons for this season. But unfortunately, when the final shape rolls around and new artifact mods roll out, I expect we will see Polaris Lance go back into the vault for a lot of players. And for that reason, it stays on the honorable mention list. And at number 1, the moment you've all been waiting for, the weapon that will likely continue to dominate PvE until the day that Bungie nerfs it into the ground, you've got the Wishender Exotic Bow. Wishender is a timeless classic, and if you don't have it, I would strongly recommend getting it. It has intrinsic anti-barrier and one-shots Grandmaster Nightfall barrier shields. It also easily one-shots red bar enemies in Grandmaster Nightfalls. This is definitely one of the best weapons in the game at this time. Wishender can be acquired via an exotic quest that takes place in the Shattered Throne dungeon. And there you have it, the top 10 exotic PvE weapons for endgame in Destiny 2. If you don't have some of these weapons, I would strongly suggest getting them, and if you need help, as I said before, feel free to join the Discord. The link can be found in the description, and with that, my name is D2Nova. Thank you for watching, and have an amazing rest of the day. Peace.